the sun and the wind were having an argument about who was stronger. And I think the reason I said a man and a woman is because I often picture the woman as being the sun. So about who was stronger. And so they looked at this man who was walking down the road, and he was wearing a heavy coat. And the wind says, let's see who can get the coat off of that man. And so the sun says, okay, sure, we'll have that's how we'll decide who's stronger. So the wind blusters and blusters and blows really hard. And so what does the man do? Grab his coat even closer, hunch over, and force himself against the wind. When it's the sun's turn, she beams warm light on him, a golden glow. And he decides that it would be a great time to rest and bask in this. And he takes off his coat and he uses it as a pillow and lies down in a shady spot to appreciate the day.
Welcome to the Uplift Her Leadership Series, a segment on the Self-Care Goddess podcast, a special space where holistic self-care meets high performance and the feminine leads with grace, power, and purpose. This podcast is your pause in a productivity-driven world, a space to reset, regulate, and reconnect with feminine wisdom and visionary leadership. I'm your host, Rita Savoya, holistic nutritionist, trauma-informed breathwork coach, and founder of Breathwork Barista. Each week, you'll hear soul-expanding stories and thought-provoking conversations with women leaders, founders, and change makers who are redefining success and what it means to lead with heart. These are the conversations we need to create the future we desire, rooted in self-care, integrity, and soul-aligned leadership. Breathe in your power, breathe out the overwhelm, and let's begin. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Self-Care Goddess podcast with today's special segment, Uplift Her Leadership Series, where beautiful, strong, motivating, inspiring women share their journey and their story to help maybe inspire someone else, the next generation perhaps. So before we get into it, as you know, on this podcast, we walk the talk. So I invite you to lower your gaze if you're not driving, of course, and you're able to even close your eyes if you're feeling comfortable. And just noticing your breath. So just tuning out the outer world, tuning out what you need to do next, what's on your to-do list, and just be here with us for just a moment, focusing on your breath, perhaps deepening the breath. So making those exhales a little longer than the inhales. And just quickly scanning your body for any areas that you might be feeling some tension, some discomfort. I invite you to channel those exhales into those areas. Because allowing the exhales to channel into those areas of tension will help to release that tension and will help soften those areas. As you inhale and exhale, feeling yourself relaxing a little more, maybe relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your jaw, allowing your tongue to just float to the roof of the mouth. Continuing to inhale fully and then exhaling even deeper. I now invite you to focus the breaths into the area of the heart. So allowing the inhales and exhales to flow in and out of your heart area, where energy goes. It allows the heart to expand with more energy. Showing gratitude for this beautiful organ that's keeping you alive without even noticing it. And in this space of immense gratitude, I invite you to visualize someone that you're grateful for today. Let's visualize this person as if they were right here in front of us. And I invite you to send them all the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation for being in your life. And now, in this space of immense gratitude for this person, I invite you to send the love, the gratitude, and the appreciation. Send it back to yourself for being here, doing the work, not giving up, feeling your heart expand with this love and gratitude for yourself. On your next inhale, flutter your eyes open and come back to us. Welcome
That's
back.
lovely. It's so relaxing.
Isn't it? Like, it's so
Yeah.
beautiful. And this is actually from the heart math. A variation of it. I do my own little twist to it, but it's literally a 3-minute reset. It's just so beautiful, so accessible. And it's
Yeah.
just bringing the heart and the mind into coherence. So then
Hmm.
your whole system is in balance, right? So
Yeah.
it's so beautiful. And I love that you participate in it. And just you can teach your kids this as well. Super easy, super
Mm.
quick to do. You don't have to do it with your eyes closed, by the way. Yes, you go a little deeper with your eyes closed, but you could do these at red lights when you're feeling super stressed and anxious. You can actually sometimes I like to put my hand on my heart as well to really feel that body
Hmm.
connection too. But again, super quick. You can, like, literally when you drop your kids off to school, you can do it with them before they go to school, right? If
Yeah.
they're feeling.
What a great
Mhm.
practice to
Yeah.
begin with children. Absolutely.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for being here. Today's guest proves that fashion can be both beautiful and deeply meaningful. Mrs. Priya Mohan is the founder of, I love this, Sari Not. KNOT, sorry, a slow fashion movement cleverly disguised as a clothing brand. Her philosophy: the right clothes don't just fit your body, they fit your life. Designed in Canada and ethically made in India, sariKNOTsari transforms upcycled vintage saris, once destined for landfill, into timeless, size inclusive pieces that evolve with you. I love that. Priya, right? Yeah. Work
Yeah.
celebrates comfort, confidence, and self expression, showing us that fashion can be a form of self respect and sometimes even self rescue. Ooh, I like that. I want to dig a little deeper into that. When she's not redefining sustainable style, Priya indulges in her love of history by collecting antiques with bird motifs. Everything from lacquered panels with teal pheasants, is so cute,
Honestly,
to
I just love a good bird print.
right? I know. Aren't they so serene? Like, I just
They are
love
so
looking
sweet.
at them.
And the
And
colors,
yeah,
they're magical.
so beautiful. And her guilty pleasure, buying shoes. Oh, I'm with you, sister. And
Too many
clothes
shoes.
she can't outgrow. A woman after her own heart. And if her life had a soundtrack, it would be Invisible String by Taylor Swift, a gentle reminder that
Yeah.
everything and everyone is connected. Let's welcome the inspiring and innovative Priya to the show. Thank
Hi,
you.
everybody. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you, Rita, for inviting me.
Yes. So tell us a little more. I mean, we were talking offline about what you were doing before, but what has led you? What's influenced this mission that you're on?
Well, that's such a great question. And I really started thinking about it. You had asked me what song would be my theme song. And, 55 years of songs, it was kind of hard to choose which is the one. And I actually think it's Invisible String, and that answers your question as well. I don't know. There was some invisible string that guided me through every part of my life, some of it painful, some of it joyous. And somehow that led me to exactly the right place, which is where I am now. Taking what I've learned about life and about respecting yourself and taking up space and having a voice and helping other women step into that place gently, first through clothing, and saying, I can wear what brings me joy. I don't need to wear what other people tell me is right for me. I can choose. And my body can change, and there should be room for that. And I can wear a color that's not in at the moment,
Yeah.
and there should be room for that. And I really have found with myself and with my customers that that's snowballed into, being willing to have a voice, being willing to stand out. And what's really helped with that as well is the community that we've created. There was a time where I remember I had these like purple pants and I had an orange top, and I thought, oh, wouldn't this look cool together? And then I was too embarrassed to wear it outside. I'm like, people are going to look, they're going to say I look like a clown. Now I wouldn't hesitate. Now I would put that on, put on a great pair of earrings, take a picture, share it to our swap and sell group, which has evolved as part of this brand. And a bunch of other women from all over North America are going to go, you go, girl. Look what I paired with orange today. And it's just so empowering to find people. Like, you asked me a bunch of questions that really got me thinking today. And one of them was, what was the best advice that I got? And it was actually really simple. It was, not everyone likes country music. And you know what? That's okay. There are a lot of people who like country music and a lot of people who like other kinds of music. And I feel like that's something that I've had to learn for myself.
Yeah.
There are going to be people who like what I believe, what I stand for, taking up space, being yourself, showing up authentically. And there
Mhm.
are going to be other people who don't, who find that very scary at this point in their personal journeys. And it's not personal. So, it's just kind of where people are at.
You're so right. You're so right. But let me ask you this. Do you think, I mean, there's going to be some young women listening to this, or younger women listening to this. So do we have to go through this rite of passage to do that and not care about what we're wearing? Do you know what I mean? To get to a
Yeah, you have
certain
to get to your
beautiful.
50s first. Yeah,
You
that's an
think so?
excellent
Yeah, like
question.
it has to. That's got to be the way.
I don't know. Actually, I think that for, like, I have three daughters who are in their 20s, and for them, I'm seeing that they don't really need that journey. Their beliefs are malleable enough, and they have enough models of people who are rethinking what we've been
Yeah.
taught to believe, that they feel quite confident. My youngest daughter won't shave her legs, and she's brown, she's hairy, and she's like, "Those are my legs." And I'm like, "You go, girl."
I love
But like,
that.
it just
I love
doesn't it
that.
doesn't bother her to challenge that. Um, so
Mm.
no, I don't think that younger generations are going to have to go through what we went through to learn to take up space. They have us, right? Our generation, where we've said, "Yeah, I did that and that did not work." So we're modeling that for them. There are definitely more voices supporting holding your own beliefs. And then I guess other than that, it's just how willing they are to be nonconformist. There
Mm.
are going to be some people who feel
Mhm.
safest in a crowd.
Yes.
And that's okay. That's always going to happen. But I think that journey, that switch that flips, where you're suddenly thinking about how you show up instead of, what you do. I think when that switch needs to flip, it just does.
Yeah.
Don't think it matters what your age is. I think it might be easier for them to flip it than it was for
Mhm.
us.
But I just noticed with more my dad, he's in his 80s now. He really doesn't give a shit about what he says to anyone. And I'm just like, in a way, I'm in shock. And then
Yeah.
other times I'm like, oh, I can't wait till I get to that age. And then you just say it. Like you know
Yeah.
that you don't have that many more years ahead of you. So it's like, who cares?
No.
But
And
you're,
what my husband and I have this talk a lot, and I'll say to him, you're 60 years old. What are you afraid of? And because,
Mhm.
we still see ourselves as quite young. I mean, we feel quite young.
Mhm.
And so, when we think of ourselves, we don't think of ourselves as that 60-year-old uncle who we
Yeah.
knew when we were in our
Yeah.
20s, right?
Yes.
But when
Yeah.
you were in your 20s and you looked at that 60-year-old uncle, you're like, he's kind of old, and what he says is kind of irrelevant. So nobody cares, right? And once you start to realize that you are that 60-year-old aunt or uncle, nobody cares.
Nobody
If you
cares.
say something really smart and they're like, ooh, wisdom, good. You got to win.
Yeah.
If you say something that's maybe a little too true, well, they'll either hear you or they'll be like, she's crazy anyways.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter. I think it really comes down to measuring yourself. I mean, seeing as that's the only thing you have control over anyways,
Yeah.
is do you meet your own standard of kindness? And, when you talk about your dad and, him saying anything, is what he's saying coming from a place of kindness and warmth and love and
Hmm.
compassion? Then yeah, say anything.
Hmm.
If it doesn't, I don't think it matters what your age is. You don't want to
Hmm.
spread that negative energy in the world. It'll bounce back to you.
Yes, totally agree. So in your bio, I mentioned self-rescue. Can you define that a little more? I'm curious.
Well, I think it comes down to women and voices, right? Like we really do fulfill so many roles in our
Hmm.
lives, as do men. But we are caregivers, nurturers. We nurture our friends, even if we don't have kids. Like just being in that nurturing role and defining ourselves with it, it can be draining. And it's usually not until we've depleted ourselves that we realize we need to refill our cups. And maybe one of those ways is to spend time being a little kid again, trying on clothes. For
Yeah.
me, twirling around in something silk. Just like, when you're a kid and you throw a silk scarf in the air and you watch it flutter down and how it just brings you joy. I feel like that self rescue comes in with our clothing because you suddenly get to throw on something that makes you feel so beautiful. It's very tactile, it's very soft, because it's upcycled. It kind of it shares the history of the woman who wore it before you. You belong through your clothing to a community of women who have
Mm.
given but also replenished themselves with this beautiful fabric. So yeah, I think it's self rescue because we need to fill our cups.
Yeah.
And this is a very one of my customers said it's good, clean fun. To shop at Sorry Not Sorry because we don't add any additional pollution to the environment. We work ethically with our sewing team. It's a women-led business, so we have a different way of looking at consumerism. The way I look at it is, okay, you're going to need clothes. So if you're going to buy clothes, why not buy clothes that help the planet somehow, help
Mhm.
young people get a start in life, stop pollution from fabric production, teach
Mhm.
about cultures and what artisanship is and how that is something we need to maintain. Like there are just so many wins in participating. We're obviously carbon neutral. We support Save the Elephants. We've built a community of women. Like we're doing all of these things. Lost my train of thought. That's such a menopause thing. Oh my God. But yeah, I
That
feel like I can't remember. Do you remember the question? Because I've lost it. Gone.
well,
Totally
I
gone.
love where you were going with this, which is, yeah, just getting yourself understanding that there's just more to you, right? And just connecting yourself
Yeah.
to others is such a beautiful purpose. I mean, if you look at the blue zones, right? One of
Yes.
their primary reasons why they're living longer is because they have purpose, right? So they wake
Yes.
up and they're community as well. That's huge too. But having
Yes.
purpose, and purpose comes when you think beyond yourself. So it's not just
Right.
about clothes that you're choosing to wear or to buy or to be a part of, but this whole beautiful ecosystem that you've created. I mean,
Yes.
it is so cool. Like I'm just so happy that you're here and talking about it, and people are like, wow, there's such thing exists. Of course I would want to buy that, of course. And most of us, yeah, like 99% of us are going to be like, yes, of course I'd want to be part of that. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
But it's just like we don't think about it, or it doesn't come in our sort
It
of
doesn't
in
cross
our
our radar, right?
yes.
And I think what we've noticed is that we fix problems that people thought were unfixable.
Yeah.
Like when you buy a pair of jeans and 2 years later it doesn't fit you, those jeans don't fit you, and you kind of move them. My favorite story is my story of the white linen pants because you really only kind of wear them in summer. So when I was in my 40s and I was finished having kids, and I'm like, okay, no fingerprints on my clothes anymore. So I bought a really nice pair of white linen pants. And I wore them a couple of times, carefully, put them away, and thought, I'm going to wear these next summer. Well, of course, they didn't fit next summer. I'm like, oh, yeah, you know what? That's okay. I'm sure I'll fit into them. And I got another pair. So once I had a stack of 3 or 4 pairs of white linen pants, I realized the problem is not me. My body was always going to change. I'm not doing anything differently. The problem is that consumerism and consumer
Mhm.
entities have taught me that I need to have clothes that fit. So
Mhm.
I end up throwing my money after this vision of how I'm supposed to look, And so the problem that we have solved at Sorry Not Sorry is our clothes are size inclusive. They will always fit you. Like what I'm wearing right now is a poncho, and I can drape it in a bunch of different ways, and I'm never going to outgrow it. So people didn't even realize that there was a solution for that pain point. They thought, well,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm going to outgrow clothes. That's just life, but it's not.
Hmm.
It's what we're
Yeah.
taught to believe.
Such a great idea. Yeah, I'm just curious. How did you come up with it? Like, was there an
It was
aha
my
moment?
personal journey. Yeah, no, it was just so like I said, I had three kids, three girls, and I had just checked off all the boxes, right? Like I finished my education, I got married, I had my kids really quickly, raised my kids, devoted myself to them. And then by the time my eldest was 16, I realized I need more. Like I was in law school. I met my husband in law school. Then actually, I personally decided I wanted to be a teacher. But I had plans, and I kind of backburnered all of those. So once I got through my, child rearing years, I thought, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to have fun now. So I went out and onto eBay because I couldn't afford anything else. And I started buying things that had always, to me, represented not having arrived, but quality. Like something where I thought like this is a symbol of something that is everlasting. It's classic. It's what I want to be, right? Something that represents who I am. So I turned to Chanel actually, because I learned about the construction of Chanel jackets, and I learned about how meticulously they're made, about the lining, about the chain at the bottom, about how it's one of the only clothing brands that gives you 1.25 inch seam allowance on every seam so that you can actually tailor it to fit you. And I thought, this is who I'm going to be. Somebody who invests in clothing, invests in quality, has a classic look. And so I did, and I had so much fun with it. I bought all of these really like five, six Chanel pieces that I would work into my wardrobe. And I'm like, I'm living the life. I will never outgrow these pieces. There's so much seam allowance. Even if I gain a couple of pounds, I'll always have that clean, tailored look. Well, sure enough, my body just started changing when I got further into my 40s. And at first I thought it was great. I'm like, look at me getting curves. And then they just kept curving, and my clothes didn't fit. And then I'm like, that's okay, I'll buy new Chanel. Well, Chanel only goes up to size 40. I'm like, who's only a size 40? And that's when I realized clothes aren't made for women with changing bodies. And
Mm.
it just struck me as like such an epiphany. And right around the same time, and this is a slightly macabre story, but not horrible. My grandmother was quite old, and near the end of what would have been the natural end of her life, anyways, she got stomach cancer. She
Mm.
wasn't in pain. She, was actually really ready to go anyway, so that's why it's not the worst.
Mhm.
But my grandmother didn't eat a lot during her life. Like she always just said, I'll just take a bite. And really she did. Like she did not overconsume. And she was always busy, always running around doing things, taking care of the house. And then when she got sick, she couldn't eat anything.
Mm.
And I remember seeing her just like a week before she passed, and she still had huge hips. And I remember noticing that every other part of her had thinned right out, and she was still pear-shaped. She was still very pear-shaped. And I was like, so it's not fat. If it were
Yeah.
fat, it would have gone. There's no way that she is still holding that as fat. And that's what I'm like, that's her
Her
body.
body.
And anybody who's saying you can make that shape go away, no, because I have witnessed that that is not true.
Mm.
And I know that it sounds horrible, but I remember thinking to myself, like, this poor lady, she hasn't eaten, like, it's awful. And yet, and that's when I thought, okay, well, that's crazy then. Why are we all trying to achieve this look when literally dying can't bring you that look?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
literally dying isn't going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what
Mm-hmm.
are we chasing after?
Right. Right. Right.
So, that also kind of fit into my journey. And I thought,
Mm.
I don't want to participate in that. I want
Mm-hmm.
to, make healthy choices, obviously exercise because it's good for my brain and my
Yes.
body, of course, and I
Mhm.
want to be here for, my kids and my grandkids. But I'm no longer going to chase that ideal. I'm not going to try to fit into the Chanel jacket with the 1.5 inch inseams. I'm going to live my best life. And then I thought, well, okay, so if that's the case, what do I want to live it in? And this is where that invisible string comes in again. I didn't plan any of this. I went on a trip I had just for fun opened up a store I had opened up an antique store because remember, I do have this antique
Yes.
love for antiques and the history behind objects. And then that kind of parlayed into a store called the Pale Blue Dot, which is house products like a general store, but it's all eco-friendly. And this was at a time when we were just starting thinking about eco-friendly. And that's where Sorry Not Sorry was born because I went on a trip with my kids to India and I didn't buy a sari while I was there. And I mean, I have some, but I wanted like a beautiful piece of fabric to bring home. And I didn't have time. So when I came back, I thought, well, I'm going to buy a sari from home and it's going to be my, retroactive souvenir from India. And I found that there were all of these saris available secondhand and they were exquisite. And I'm like, holy cow, somebody should do something with these. And then I thought, oh, I could do something with these. And so I bought some fabrics. I worked with a tailor here in the Burlington Hamilton region. We put together some designs and we started selling them out of the Pale Blue Dot in the basement. And eventually it took over the basement. Like it became the biggest seller in the store, which led me to selling the business to the lady who kind of helped with, like she came up with the concept of the Pale Blue Dot. And I'm like, hey, I need to continue with Sorry Not Sorry. So she and her family bought me out and I ended up moving across the street and continuing Sorry Not Sorry. But then things just fell into place. Like that family tour that we went on to India, we had taken a tour company, like a tour
Yeah.
company had taken us through India. And I contacted them and I said, I want to go back to India. I want to look specifically for who sources these saris and I need to like meet a tailor. And the lady's like, oh yeah, I know the perfect lady for you. And that's how I met my head tailor.
Wow.
She came in to meet me at my hotel and it was really cute. She brought all of these clothes that she thought were like fancy enough for North America that she had designed. And they were over the top. Like they were like every little bling and tassel and, like any adornment could have been added. She had added it thinking like more is more.
Mhm.
And she had actually won a competition in New Delhi. So Delhi is very much a garment industry city. It's huge. And she had won for best new designer when she was graduating.
Wow.
Yeah. And her thesis, I guess, was on upcycling fabrics to create looks that were more like rave looks. So like really out there, right?
Yeah.
And so I met her. She had just had a baby, and she comes and she was so full of enthusiasm. And I said, "Yeah, let's give it a try. These are the styles. I brought you the prototypes. Let's see how it goes." And she and I have been working together ever since.
Wow.
Her little boy is now like 7 or 8. Her
Mm.
daughter is just a darling. And yeah, so we again couldn't have planned that. No way I could have planned that.
No way.
No.
No way. Yeah. That is so incredible. So incredible
Yeah,
how every little thing had to happen in that exact way, in that
it
exact
did.
process,
Yeah.
like for things to fall into place, like you just said. Wow. And I love your sari, by the way.
Oh,
And
thank you. So this one is it's a crepe silk. We work in crepe and georgette. So crepe is the one that's not see-through. And
okay.
then what's really cool is I don't know if you can see it, all of the stitching here. It's
Right.
called kantha stitching and it's an embellishment style. It's all hand done. Like you can see on
Wow.
the
That is
back that somebody
so
actually
beautiful.
sat with this fabric
Wow.
and traced out all the designs. In fact, I think if I spin it around, you can see what it would have looked like. This is what it looked like before it was embellished
Yes.
because
That's
only part
right.
of it is embellished.
Yes. Yes.
And each of our pieces, being one of a kind, has a story like this where you kind of go like, who thought about putting those colors together? Or look how they
Yeah.
chose to embellish this particular piece. Or because
Yeah.
like not all of them are embellished. Some are floral, some are geometric. Like we've got the
Mhm.
full span. Some are so clearly from the 70s. We call them our Scooby-Doo fabrics. We
Yeah.
have pieces from the 60s that look
Oh,
very much like a
cool.
Poochie print. We have the 90s, we have the 80s, are so 80s, the 2000s. Like we can pick out the decade from the
Yeah.
fabric. And it's
Wow.
really cool. Like we do lives every Friday and our community will chime in because Shafali, who works with me, will be like, I think that's from the 70s. I'm like, nope, not enough harvest gold and avocado green. And
Yeah.
somebody in the community will go, definitely the 80s. I had a dress in those exact same colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really fun to kind of use just very much like the antique store, right? The fabrics themselves represent an era, and you get to participate in that era just by wearing the
Mhm.
fabrics.
Yes, and it's so beautiful. Those are my favorite colors, by the way.
Oh,
Add a
nice.
splash of yellow in there, and that's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that's so cool. That is it's just so incredible what you're doing. And where do you see it going? Like, what's sort of the future of Sorry Not Sorry?
Um,
Have you thought of that?
well, yeah, I have. So I'm probably getting close. Like I've retired from teaching. I think maybe another 5 or 6 years of running this from like doing all the back end that I do. But I think after that, I see myself going to India, at least for the winters. And I kind of think I want to work in a village. Like I want to
Mm,
find a village and then have train women within that village to create our products and create an
mm,
economy within that town that is supported by Sorry Not Sorry. I've seen other businesses do it. They provide education for the children, they create
mm.
insurance for the people who are working for them. I just feel like we could really do a lot to support women, especially in India, where all of this is being made. And yeah, that's kind of where I'd like to see it go. And right now, we already have stockists all over the world who carries the Sorry Not Sorry brand. I think that that will continue. I feel like the brand really does need a person behind it to kind of coax women into challenging themselves.
Mhm,
So the boutiques we're in, the women are already very forward thinking and, saying, you don't need tailored clothing, honey, you need to be comfortable.
mhm.
And so, yeah, that's kind of where I see it. I see it as
That is a
becoming even more of a business that puts people first. And the clothing is just a byproduct of that.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So before my wellness career, I was in human resources. So
Okay.
it's just beautiful to hear what you're doing. And I used to live in Dubai. So I worked in Dubai,
Oh,
had a lot
wow.
of experience with people from working in India and from India. And yeah, and I've been to India actually three
Oh,
times. And
nice.
yeah, it's just so beautiful
So
what you're doing.
beautiful.
What a
Yeah.
legacy. Like that was going to be one of my questions, but you've answered it right there. Like that is such a beautiful legacy to leave behind, not only for all of us, but even your children as well, your girls. Such a
Yeah.
beautiful role model.
I'm trying. I feel like, we can't, I can't just be here and not contribute to making things
Hmm.
better. Like that's why I left law school, quite honestly. I went into law school and I had a look at how things were done. And like my husband's a lawyer, my middle daughter's a lawyer. It was fine for them. They're thrilled with it. I went in there and I just found it not idealistic enough. I really wanted to see change because people realize change is good and that,
Hmm.
doing better, being better is good. And what I saw in the law was that it's based on precedent. What did we do before?
Hmm.
Like, so that's what we should do again. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that's not how it should work.
Yeah.
And that's why I went into teaching. I thought the
Mm.
best way to change the future is to get people in the present to question the future and to
Mm.
kind of say, what do I want to see? How am I going to get there? And I think this Sorry Not Sorry is an extension of that, right? It's
Mhm.
empowering women to have a voice, and once you give women a voice, you're going to hear things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, we're gonna make things so much better, right? Yeah.
so true.
So creative ideas, that's when they flourish, when you're given the opportunity to do so. So
Yeah.
tell us a little more I mean, you're doing so much. Have you experienced burnout during this process? And if so, what are some symptoms or maybe signs that we should watch out for?
Well, I think I did experience burnout at the end of my teaching career, for sure.
Mm.
And but it was a really good lesson for me. I think it was that whole idea of not refilling my cup.
Mhm.
It's because, I would meet with the kids online and I saw more of what their home lives were like than what I wanted to know.
Mhm.
Because they were online and I could see what was going on in the background or hear what was going on in the background. At least in a classroom, you're kind of giving them a safe space. When
Mhm.
they're in your classroom, they have a safe space to be themselves, to grow, to trust the people around them. And I really got to see that some of my kids did not have that in their
Wow.
regular lives.
Sad.
And I
Mm.
couldn't provide that just being, the face on the screen. So I think that was part of it. And, the anxiety around COVID, that was all during COVID, right? When
Right.
everything was online. And I just realized I didn't have that to give anymore. It was just too close to my heart. I am far too emotionally involved in protecting the children. Like that is just something that's just innate in me. Sure, it stems back to my childhood. My therapist and I could probably talk about it for years. But yeah, protecting the children is just too big for me. Like I freeze. I got to the point where I froze
Right.
because I
Right.
didn't know how to protect them and I didn't have the tools to protect them. And what I learned is I can't, right? That you cannot. You have control of the things in your sphere, and then the rest you have to leave to the universe and, send out good energy and wait for it to stick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's a valuable lesson in what you can control and what you cannot, because oftentimes we do focus on the things that we cannot control, and
Right.
it's
Yeah.
such it's an energy zapper, vampire, whatever you want to call it. It
It
is a
is.
waste of time, of course, and it reminds me of the saying that it's like rocking on a rocking chair. It'll give you something to do, but it doesn't get you anywhere, right? So
No.
just that
No.
worry.
And one of the stories I heard during that time, like it's, I guess, like not a legend, but like just a tale, a story that's told. It's an African story that's passed along. Like what fable? It's a fable. And so what the fable is that these hunters, in order to catch monkeys in this village, this tribe, they would create these long-necked vases. Have you heard of this story?
No, no.
So they would create these very, very tall vase-shaped things that were narrow through here and then would open out. And what they would do to catch monkeys is they would throw bananas down that long neck, and the bananas would all sit at the bottom. And monkeys would smell the bananas and they would reach in, grab a banana, and try to take it out. Well, as soon as you reach in and grab the banana stops you from being able to take it out. And while they stood there determined to get that banana, they got killed, right? The monkeys would get shot. And all
Mhm.
they had to do to save themselves was let go of the banana,
Oh, wow.
right? And
Wow.
it just really resonated with me. Like, how many bananas am I holding right now? That I am killing myself. And
Yeah.
I don't need that banana. I'll find another
No.
banana. There are more bananas. But
Mhm.
I really saw that that's something that we do. We hang on to these bananas.
Yes, 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 yes. So what do you think, I love that fable, by the way. I'm going to use that.
Yeah, it's
So
amazing.
what do you think that women need to know, or what's stopping them from realizing this, in
I
your
think it's a
opinion?
belief system.
Mm.
You were talking about burnout. I had a breakdown and I went to Grail Springs, a place I would highly recommend. It's up in Bancroft. And they kind of do energy healing, but they really just help you fill your cup again. And I went there and I was a disaster. And I was eating at their like luncheon area and the waitress was really nice to me. So I started bawling because look how there are nice people in this world. And it's like she was just smiling as she filled my water cup, and that was all it took. So of course I like hightailed it out of the dining area. I found a room that was abandoned, and I sat in a corner, and I'm like, ah! And I'm like, I'll be fine soon. I just need to let this cry out. And this lady walked in who I knew from previous visits there. Her name was Laura, and she walked in there. She goes, "Oh, I knew there was a reason I got here early. I just didn't know what it was." And because she was about to do a class in that room. And I'm like, "Hi, Laura." And she's like, "It sounds like you're really going through it." I'm like, "I really am." And so she goes, "Look, I have to teach a class right now, but I will be right here in this room in 1 hour. During this 1 hour, I want you to go outside and walk in nature. Like there's all
Yeah.
these paths and everything. And I want you to look for a sign. I don't even know what that sign's going to be, but I want you to go look for it." I'm like, "Okay, Laura, I'll see you in an hour." So I go out onto the grounds and I'm looking. I'm like, "Sign, find me." And of course, I don't see a sign. So they have a fire pit. And I'm like, you know what? I always do love a really good fire pit outside. This is so lovely. I
Mhm.
can't believe they've lit this fire. I'm filled with gratitude that this fire's out here to keep me warm on this frigid day. Like I think it was February. So
Oh, wow.
I sit
Mhm.
down in front of this fire pit and I'm enjoying the warmth of it and thinking, okay, life is going to be okay. And
Mhm.
then this wind comes out of nowhere, and all the heat and the ashes and the debris from the fire went into my face.
Oh
And I'm
my.
like, but I was enjoying this fire. And then it stopped, but then it came right back again. And I'm like, yeah, this is life. This is what life is. And so then I thought to myself, or I could just move over to the side of the fire.
Yeah.
And that was like such an epiphany for me. Like all of these things where I felt like either I was the victim or I was trapped or
Mm.
there was no options except the choices that I felt like I had. I could get up and move out of the way of the smoke.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have that power.
Right.
And that was, a turning point for me to realize that we do have our own power. And that's what stops women. I think we kind of have this limited perspective of like, it's got to look like this. But
Hmm.
there's nothing stopping you from going this way.
Yeah.
Really, nothing but yourself.
Yes, I love that. And then, of course, being open to
Yeah.
trying it as well. So
Yeah.
you can be aware of that you have other options, but also having the courage to say, hey, I'm going to try this way. I'm going to go that way.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it just happens from trial and error. Just try it. What is the worst thing that can happen? Right? Like,
Nothing.
yeah, you just turn around and do something different or do something else. So
Yeah.
I love that. But
Exactly.
it's having that support from other women. It's listening
It
to
is.
podcasts like these and listening to
Yeah.
your story and how you did it and your perspective and just like, doing the work, right? It's just,
It's
I
true.
wish staying thin or staying, not even thin, just staying healthy was watching TV and eating potato chips on your couch.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's not how it works. But that's everything, right? If you just want
Yeah.
to thrive, it needs to be, there needs to be discipline and
You need to
practice.
do the work. And
Yeah.
it's funny because Shafali, who I don't know if you met her that day at the show we were at that event, but Shafali works with me, and Shafali, like I'm getting older, she's still very young, and she just says, "I need you to get 5 more years, just 5 more years, and then I will be able to do what you do, and we'll be fine." And I'm like, yeah, I'll get 5 years. And she goes, you've got to work on your health. And I'm like, I am working on my mental health right now. And I will definitely get to my physical health also.
That's interesting. That's funny. That's funny. Yes, they do come hand in hand. So
They
and it
do.
actually, if you work on your physical, then the mental health gets even easier, and
That's
the
so
other way
true.
around,
You
right? Like,
do. Yeah,
yeah. So she
absolutely.
is right. She is
She
right.
is. She's always right. She's so smart. That's why I have hope for the future because of Shafali and kids my children's age. I just look at what they're capable of, and
I know. They're so amazing, so inspiring, for sure, for sure. So tell us a little more about how are you balancing? Is there even such thing as work-life balance in your opinion? And how do you do it?
oh, I'm really lucky because I'm an empty nester. And because I'm retired, I have a pension. So my husband's still working. We both work from home. So I don't have a lot of things pulling at my attention right now. So
Mm.
work-life balance for me, I love my work. So I just, work until
Mm.
I feel like I can't, and then I go do other things, and then I come back to it. Um,
But
I don't know.
How about before maybe? If you can give us some ideas, some.
I burnt myself out. I am not a good model of work-life balance. I wanted to achieve it all. I wanted my kids to have everything they needed. I wanted my home to be well appointed so that it would run smoothly. I managed all the emotions of all the people around me, and I did my job like as a
Mm.
teacher. And yeah, it's impossible. Like you cannot. And I think that I realized that a lot later in life. I managed to plow through.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. Like I look at Shafali, she's in her 20s. I look at my daughter Mira, who's, they are roommates right now along with another girl who works in my store, Rachel. And they're talking about, oh, and then we had to go out and weed the garden and then we had to water the plants and somebody had to take the garbage out and like they're saying all of these things, these responsibilities. And then I went to school and I have this assignment to. I'm glad that young people are young because it's a lot. They
Mm.
have to do a lot. I don't think at this age I could do that.
Mm.
What would I do differently? I think
Mm.
I would learn that there are lots of things that don't matter. And I remember people
Mm.
telling me that when, and even hearing it, but not really sinking in that nobody cares if your house is a mess. But it wasn't that I cared for myself, like having things organized around me helped me feel
Yes, of
organized.
course.
And what I
Hmm.
have learned since then is that feeling comes from within. It's not a feeling that comes from without. So if I want to feel calm and I want to feel that I am in possession of my calmness, it can't come from a clean house. It's got to come from within me. And the house will be clean or not be clean. It shouldn't be tied to my well-being. Like that is something I've learned.
So prioritizing, would that be
Yeah,
me?
taking time to breathe, taking time to feel your emotions.
Yeah.
That's a really big thing that I never did it as a kid. Like
Hmm.
I wasn't taught how to. And
Right.
so we
Exactly.
just kept plowing through, do the next thing. And now I find like I'll have moments where I'm just be like, I'm just gonna sit quietly. I'm gonna scan my body for where I'm feeling something stuck. And I'm going to focus in on it and, give it a name, give it a color, describe its shape, ask it questions. And I find that energy just releases. I never did that when I was in my 20s or 30s or 40s. I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's,
Yeah, those are powerful techniques for sure. Yes. I love what you're saying though, in terms of, again, it's going back to that nobody cares that your house is clean or not. However, I do feel that when my room is clean, I have a better sleep or tidy.
yeah.
When it's tidier than usual, I do have a better sleep. So I do get it. And also, like, I like to use this saying that how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you
Unfortunately.
know, yeah, exactly. I know. But I like what you said about prioritizing, because not everything is going to be important. So just
No.
having that piece of sanity that you, because I hear it from mothers a lot. I'm not a mom myself, but I hear it a lot is, you know what, my kids come first. I need to, they come first. So whatever I need to do, it needs to be for them first. Then, of course, my partner or husband, and then the business, and then the house or the job, and then comes me. But
Yeah.
that's where
No,
burnout,
I did a
that's a
horrible job of
recipe.
prioritizing myself. And I had no models of it either, right?
Yeah,
We look at our mothers and they
exactly.
did everything. They were everything to everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You think, I mean, we mentioned it already, we're breaking a little bit of that stigma now. But do you feel like we're headed like in an exponential kind of growth toward
I
to
think so.
breaking that?
I think that therapy has a lot to do with it. Like when I talk to my younger employees, they'll talk. My daughter Mira talks about how the way she sees life, she's in her mid-20s, and the way she sees life is she goes, we spend all of our time juggling, but some of those balls are glass balls and some of them are plastic balls, and you have to be willing to let the plastic balls drop. Just figure out which are your glass balls. And like for her to be saying that at her age, right?
Wow, impressive.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this is what I mean. But they as much as they get very influenced by social media, and some of it is negative, but some of it is access to therapy,
Good.
to
Yeah.
reconceptualizing who they are,
Hmm.
re-examining their lives. I heard a horrible story about one of my students, was something that had happened that I didn't know about, but I found out later, and I was devastated that I didn't pick up on that this was going on. And I told my daughter because she's like, "Mom, you look like what has just happened." And I told her, and she goes, there are a number of groups online for people who have gone through this, and you there is so much out there. You don't have to feel the burden that you need to make this part of your rescue mission. That it's okay. There is so much, and she started showing it to me, and it's true.
Hmm.
There are groups out there for people who have suffered unique things, support
Hmm.
groups of informal support groups, not like I need to call someone and, whatever. It's like following someone on Instagram who talks candidly about what they've experienced and people
Hmm.
commenting like this also happened to me, and then, getting directed to resources. It's so easy to get that support for our younger generation that, we didn't get. We had to go to a library.
It's true.
Remember those
Pay,
days
or
when you
pay
had to go to
for
the
it.
library?
Or pay for it with a therapist,
Or
right?
pay for
Yeah.
it with a therapist, yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? I love that, Priya, because where a lot of us are putting down social media, that is just the devil. And there is a light to the good side to it for sure, that
Yeah,
it's not often talked about. So I like how we're bringing this up, and it is a resource that you can
it
definitely tap
is.
into. Hmm.
Yeah, for me, one of the first resources I found for myself personally on social media was the holistic psychologist. I don't know if you've heard of
Yes,
her.
yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, with
Yeah,
her
she's
little
amazing.
demonstrations, I love
Yes.
it. So
Well,
good.
and I love it as like an introduction to
Yeah.
a new way of thinking, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I remember I showed that to my mom, and she's in her 80s now. And I showed it to her when she was in her late 70s. And I said, Mom, I think some of this will resonate with you. Well, didn't she become a huge fan of the holistic psychologist? And she's like, this was me when I was 10. And she'll send me like a thing, or she'll be like, this is your dad right now. This is exactly what he's doing. But
That's
she's learning the
funny.
language around it. And it's because
Right?
it's accessible through social media. And it's easy to
Exactly.
share and discuss. It's not like you got to loan
Yes.
someone a book. Now it's like, I'll have my friends be like, Priya, what we were talking about last time, this kind of reminded me of you and what you were
Yeah.
thinking. Have a look at this and call me, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
So,
social media, if you're doom scrolling,
yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not the worst thing that our phones are listening to us, and when we say, "Oh, I'm just at the end of my rope," and all of a sudden you get all this support coming at you through your phone.
Yeah, that's true. Again, it's just something
Yeah.
I haven't looked at it from that perspective. So, Priya, when I first started this podcast, I had no idea that this question was going to be one of the questions that I would be curious to find the answer to. And it's about masculine and feminine energy, and
Oh
how
wow.
being in such a beautiful role of leadership, how most of us, including myself, and it's interesting, when I was in Dubai, I didn't even know that I was doing this until I came back to Canada and started really helping my mom go through her health issue. And I was more nurturing, and that feminine energy was able to really flourish. Whereas when I was in Dubai, running my business, I was like wearing pantsuits. I was like this, like go go go. I gotta take action. I gotta implement like all of this masculine energy. We need both for sure to just thrive. But it's just when we're sort of dominant on one versus the other. I'm wondering, did you experience that? I mean, not everybody, but most of the women, they just naturally said it during our conversations, and I'm like, oh, this should be a question to kind of see. Is that something that's really common in a very successful, high performing, high achieving woman?
I can't speak for everybody, but I would say, based on my clientele and my own personal experience, I would say yes. There
Yeah.
is an amount of connecting with your own energy and using that energy, like realizing that it's endless and that it comes from the ground within you. And it's like it is connection to your inner goddess, to that all of that powerful strength that's in you that you can use to nurture globally. Like it's not about accumulation. It's about building and putting together and communicating.
Mm-hmm.
And I do find that like the women who I resonate with are women who have also come to that point in their journey,
Mm-hmm.
where they've seen their inner power, but it's not a masculine power. It's a very feminine way of rethinking how the world should work
Mm-hmm.
and how we're going to participate in it. It's a good
Wow.
question.
Isn't it beautiful? I know. And I was like, oh, what is she gonna say? Is she gonna say that yes? Because you kind of, set it up, and I had no idea. You could have went one way or the other. And I'm like,
No, I think it's
yes, like
there.
we're on to something here,
We
which
are
is
onto something.
so
I tell this story, like 15 years ago. I remember if I met somebody, I'd be like, oh my God, she meditates and she does yoga. Like, ugh, she's so out there. And now I'm like, oh my God, she meditates and she does yoga. Like, I'm like, you go, girl. It's just like that shift into
wow.
like feeling like straight, like supporting other women, recognizing that,
Yeah.
that energy comes from within, the discipline comes from within. Yeah, I'm definitely in a different place. And a lot of the women who I know are also in this new place.
Yeah, and I'd love, 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 and I know this is like 5 years from now, but when you do go to these villages, it'd be so interesting to see where are they operating from? Is it more, the masculine energy or the feminine energy? Because if I believe that we're going back to how we used to be as women, this very tribal, community based, right? There's so many beautiful associations you can join where we met as well, right? Revolution Her, like just so many that I think we're going back to that because it's so nurturing, it's so needed, and we uplift each other, right? We inspire each other, and get away from that competition and that.
Oh,
And I
definitely.
love the quote. I always say this now, and I always feel it too, is celebrating somebody else's success takes nothing away from yours, right?
No.
It's just being in community and being happy for each other. And as you mentioned, you'll get that back, right? And I'm
Oh,
not
yeah.
doing it because of that, but it just feels
But
so
it
good.
does come back. If you put out negative energy, I find the negative energy will find you back.
Right,
And
right.
it's easier. It's honestly, it's so much easier
Yeah.
to just be supportive and go, you go. Like, look
Yes.
at you doing your best and trying. Look
Yes.
at you, showing up every day.
Yes, exactly.
It's so much
So
easier to do that than to find reasons to be negative.
it's so true. It's so true. And I do find that some industries are probably going to be a little slower to catch up. Like I'm thinking like sales, for example, or I don't know, like pharmaceutical sales. Like that's such a very competitive industry,
Yeah.
right? Or even law or anything like that. But I feel like, it will shift because we're shifting. And if you and I shift in our industry, then that has that ripple effect out
I
into the
think it
world.
does. Like I said in the beginning, the number of women who have felt empowered to have a voice since, becoming part of our community, joining this movement of, feeling really comfortable in your clothes and expressing yourself and taking time to play with clothing like we did when we were kids. These women go out there and they are shaping young minds, right? Like
Yeah.
they have daughters, they have colleagues, and they're now modeling, yeah, I have a voice. Yeah, like I have something to bring to the
Right.
table. I'm not just your old aunt or uncle. Like I've got something. So yeah, I do think there is going to be more of a shift towards that, towards community, towards support of each other. And yeah, this is another story that I tell my husband all the time, because I think it really. Do you remember? This is another one of those fables. It's about the wind and the sun.
No, I
You
love
heard
this.
this one?
I don't think so.
So this is one of Aesop's fables. So it's quite commonly known. But the story is that one day there was a man and there was a sun. Losing my mind. The sun and the wind were having an argument about who was stronger. And I think the reason I said a man and a woman is because I often picture the woman as being the sun. So about who was stronger. And so they looked at this man who was walking down the road, and he was wearing a heavy coat. And the wind says, let's see who can get the coat off of that man. And so the sun says, okay, sure, that's how we'll decide who's stronger. So the wind blusters and blusters and blows really hard. And so what does the man do? Grab his coat even closer, hunch over, and force himself against the wind. When it's the sun's turn, she beams warm light on him, a golden glow, and he decides that it would be a great time to rest and bask in this. And he takes off his coat and he uses it as a pillow, and lies down in a shady spot to appreciate the day. So through love and warmth, people are willing to change, to grow, to take that next step. But if you force someone with that masculine
Mm,
energy of, pushing, bullying, insisting, you're not going to get anywhere. They're just going to hunker down.
mm,
So yeah, I do think if we move forward with more of that compassionate, loving energy,
yes.
we are going to see more change in this world.
Yes. Loving change. I love it. Mic drop, Priya. That's it. So beautiful. So beautiful. And no, I have not heard that fable. So thank you.
No
I'm learning
problem.
so much from you today. Someone else on the podcast actually explained the masculine and feminine energy as the feminine being, let's say you're going through a forest. The feminine is the compass, and the masculine is like the person with the machete kind of like making way. But really, without the feminine, that's why you need both, right? Without the feminine,
Right.
he wouldn't really know where and how to like clear
Yeah.
what direction to clear the actual forest in. He'd just be going everywhere, like using that machete. And then, of course, just with the compass, you're not going to really get you're not going to be able to take action and do things. So it's so important to be able to balance both and tap into both whenever it is necessary to do so. But I just love the fact that more and more women are embracing their feminine, right? And just really being comfortable with it, and not having, especially, in a really high demanding job, having to be that, really pissed off person to get respected.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you're nice, people are going to take advantage of you, right? Don't mistaken my smile for being an idiot, right? Like,
No.
yeah,
And
I'm
that's
just
another
being
thing we're
nice.
learning is our boundaries, right? We weren't taught those as kids, and now you can smile and
Yes.
say, absolutely not.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly. And not feel
happening.
guilty about it too. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So tell us a little more about your self-care habits. So what do you do
Oh,
on a daily
I wish I
basis?
had
Or
better ones.
it's okay. Just tell us what. Well, maybe which ones would you want to do then? And maybe you could start today.
Um, yeah, so I was actually thinking about that when I saw that question that you were going to be asking me, and I thought, wow, this is the one that I don't already have an answer for. But I think one of my self-care habits is indulging my passion for for what I do. Letting it take over my life, unfortunately take over, but in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Like I love the energy that comes from my customers and from this brand and just from what we do. I let myself fall into it and be a part of it rather than kind of keeping it as a separate thing. Um, Other than that, in terms of self-care, like it's not much. I do love to take time to dress up like that, to not dress up for other people and not even end up as a finished dressed up product. It's more like to go into my closet and go, "Ooh, this is a pretty blue. I bet it would look so pretty with a purple. I wonder if I have earrings." And then like I put it on and I twirl around, or I'll be like, "These pants are these pants." And it just really reminds me of when I was a child and I used to play dress up, right? I have this very vivid memory of being less than 4 years old. And you're probably old enough to remember Avon as being a staple in everyone's house,
Mhm.
right? So my mom had a white milk glass soap dish, and it had a stand underneath it that looked like an upside down crown. And so I would go into the bathroom, move the dish, take the crown, flip it over, walk on my head, put it on my head, and then walk so carefully, like I was a stewardess or a princess, and walk around the house and try to twirl with it. And those are some of my fondest memories of, being dressed up and just being myself in the moment, living in my imagination. And that is something I do still. I live very vividly in my imagination,
Mhm.
and take time for that, and take time to play.
Yeah.
So that is something I
So cool.
definitely do. I take time to, while I'm walking, stop and actually listen to the birds. Like stop and go, how many
Hmm.
can I hear? And where is it coming from? And can I see it? Or to see a flower and just be stopped in my tracks by it,
Mm.
and appreciate it. So those are the kinds of things I do. I think they're called glimmers now. That's the new word for them. But appreciating the glimmers in life, those
Mm.
moments of absolute beauty,
Yeah.
that stop you in your tracks, of, where
Mhm.
something is everything, when that flower
Right.
is everything, when that bee is bumbling around and trying to figure out which flower it's going to go into, and you're watching it happen, and you're like, this is everything.
It's so true. It's so
Yeah.
true. Those are the moments that are really going to matter. Do you know? Like
Yeah.
when we're close to ending this experience, this human experience, those are going to be the
Yeah.
moments that we're going to remember. Not like, did we, achieve that target? Did we hit that deadline? Did we make that, report,
Yeah.
right? Those things that oftentimes we worry about. It's, yes, appreciating the glimmers. Interesting. I do that. I do that often. And I do it just because, and people make fun of me all the time. My family, friends, like, Rita, really, let's just get moving. And but look at the cloud. It's just so
Look at the
beautiful.
clouds. Exactly. Just look at those clouds. I've never seen them like that. They actually have silver linings. We should take a picture.
I know, right? And
Yeah.
apparently Canada has some like wicked clouds, like some of the
Oh,
most beautiful, very, very beautiful clouds that you see. And it's true. Like I've traveled
yeah.
quite a bit. And yeah, I'm just in awe. Sometimes I'm like, wow, it just looks like a painting. It looks like a
Yeah,
picture.
too
It just is
beautiful.
incredible not to
Yeah.
to just stop and indulge for sure. Well, those are some really good self-care habits. So yeah,
Yeah,
don't sell yourself short, Priya. You got some. You got some.
I do
Maybe
have some. So
we
I
can
think it's
add
the
some.
glimmers. I think it's the processing my emotions and definitely taking time for that, and letting my inner child come out and play.
Yeah, of course, of course, of course. That's so cool. Maybe we can add some breath work to that.
Yes, seriously.
Why not? Why not? So, what is one? This is a really fun question. What's one rule you've joyfully broken on your way to where you are now? Unless there isn't one, but
Well, there are. So, but you know what? I think it's not one rule. I think it's all the rules. I was raised to believe that if you didn't do things a certain way, you would be shunned. Like to not, you know, I don't know, put away your dishes necessarily.
mm,
Like there were just some rules that were just so big and like there was not even room to break them. And then as I've lived my life, I've seen people break them. And what I realized is nobody gets shunned. So, because everybody gets brought back into the fold one way or another. So, like it maybe not be your fold, it'll be somebody else's fold, but nobody gets shunned, which really made me rethink this whole idea of who do you do the things that you do for? Are you doing it because you want to make sure that other person doesn't shun you? Or are you doing it because this is, it comes from within you that this is how you want to express yourself and live your life? So I guess the rule that I've broken is I follow my own compass as opposed to following the compasses of the people around me. And I follow it authentically.
mm,
So the rules that I'm breaking are the rule is I don't have to do what you tell me to do,
yeah,
right? I
yeah,
have to do what feels right to me.
hmm,
And a lot of times those things will align.
yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, like the threat factor is gone.
Yes, yes. So great. So what piece of advice would you give, someone like your daughter or just a younger woman to help her cultivate resilience mostly in times of uncertainty or challenging times, which we're gonna have, which is
Yeah.
destined to have. What advice would you give them?
Well, I would say you have to learn to love yourself and you have to find your strength from within yourself. Ultimately, every person in your life is going to disappoint you or die. Like that is, they will. Like if you're
Inevitable.
relying on them for your validation, you won't survive. So you have to learn to love yourself, validate yourself, forgive yourself,
Yeah.
right? Trust yourself, respect yourself. So, and it really is a learning curve because as a child, all of that comes from your parents.
Hmm.
And that's how you're taught is that it's external. So to take that switch and be like, no, from now on, I am my parent. From now on, I am my cheerleader. I am the
Hmm.
one who tells me you need to eat or you need to take a break. I'm my caregiver. So I'd say that. And then in addition to that, I'd say notice your beliefs. When you say something, when you do something, when you think I must, whatever, what is the belief that you're holding? And then look at that belief and go, is that still true? Like, or
Mm.
was that just an adaptive belief from my childhood that no longer works for me? Or is that a rule that somebody who doesn't understand me put in place, like men who design my clothing? You know, do I believe I need to look like they want me to look? Whose belief is that, mine or theirs? And if it's not mine, what is my belief? So, yeah, I think those are the two pieces of advice I would give.
Beautiful. Oh, so powerful. Definitely. We'll clip this for sure. And then you can share it with your daughters. Definitely super powerful. I love that. And that's just coming, you're saying it with such confidence. There's like glimmer, speaking of glimmers, glimmer in your eye. Just you're owning it, it's so
Yeah.
important to really figure out what it is that you value and really live authentically along those values and become such a beautiful compass to do
Yeah,
things or not to do things, or to
exactly.
execute or not, or to engage or not. Yeah, so
Yeah,
cool, so cool. And to I love that about the beliefs. It's so true. We
it's so
carry
true.
these beliefs that probably been socialized with, and so doing that exercise is so cool. I'm actually reading Louise Hay's book, Women
Oh,
Empowerment. I think it's called
yes.
Women.
She's written a few books. I thought you were going to say the one about the body.
Oh, the heal your body.
That one, that,
Yeah.
yeah, the
I,
body keeps the score, I think it's called.
oh, so is that someone else?
Oh,
Actually,
no, no,
that's
you're right. It's
next.
the other one about the body. Yes.
Yeah, that's someone, but I'm reading that next. But she actually talks about doing a really cool exercise where you spend a couple of days just kind of like when it comes to you, it's not like you got to force it, right? What are some of beliefs that you're still holding on to? And you
Yeah.
just write it down. Okay, about men, about, I don't know, the weather, about life, about
Yeah.
career, about yourself, and just you just write them
Mhm.
down as they come. So you spend a couple of days doing this and then reviewing it and saying, wait a minute, where is this coming from? Is this still
Yeah.
true? Not really. Like you, and then you kind of like rearrange all of these and come up with like a new compass or a new litmus test that can guide you throughout your life. So really cool that you said that, and not many people even know this, right? Not
That
many,
they
many
have
people.
beliefs. No, they're just, they exist. They're the framework of your life. You don't look at the walls, right? You just
Yeah.
look within them.
Yeah, and it's that, that 95% of the time we are operating at such a subconscious level, which is these automated belief systems that we can
Yeah.
unlearn though. The good
Yeah.
news is we can unlearn.
If you
It's
can
not all gloom
identify
and
them.
doom. Yeah.
Yeah, if you and that's the first step is identifying them. If
Yeah.
you can say, "Oh yeah, I don't feel comfortable in that." Is
Right?
there a
Yeah,
reason
that's
I
not me
have to do
anymore.
that? No, there's
Hmm.
no reason. Like I
Exactly.
can let that go. I don't have to carry that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that.
Mhm.
So, if you could have lunch with any woman,
Oh
Priya,
gosh.
past or present, who would it be and why? I'd love to have lunch with you, by the way. Super cool. I love your energy. But yes, anyone, any woman, past or present, who would it be and why?
Okay. So, I'm going to say there are two people. One of them would be Ella Fitzgerald. And because of the times that she was alive, she faced all kinds of injustice and hardship. And
Mm,
she still sang like a bird and
mm,
brought so much joy to people and was able to pull this joy out of herself to create this music, and didn't let the world drag her down. Still found that source of strength and beauty. I'd like to know more about that. I'm sure I'm taking her far more seriously than she took herself because I've heard some interviews and she was like, yeah, it just is. It all just is. It's fine.
wow.
And then the other one would be Maya Angelou. So I just reread I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, and that woman just seems like a font of wisdom.
Hmm.
Just the way that she can tell a story of the tiniest thing that happens and then from that come to an understanding of how the world works in a very practical way. I mean, there are so many women, but I feel like those two, that mother image, the wisdom, I think it's the wisdom I would like to be a part of.
For sure, for sure. And as I was listening to you, you said for both women the word bird. Isn't that
Oh,
crazy?
that is
Yes, I
crazy.
love it how it kind of weaves into your
It
life.
does. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Wow, so true.
So maybe you've answered this question as well. But what's a book, a quote, or a mantra that has profoundly impacted your life?
Actually, I gave this one some thought, and I would say the one that most recently has combined the thinking that I've been developing over the past 10 years is Let Them by Mel Robbins.
Hmm.
And I think that was just something I was learning to understand. And then she perfectly articulated the idea that you have no control.
Hmm.
People are going to do what they want, feel the way they want, believe what they want, and you can let them. Like you can give yourself
Yeah.
permission to not take ownership of it or
Hmm.
take it personally. And then the second part of that is let me. So when I see this happening, how do I feel about it? How do I want to change my world in order to keep me healthy and happy? because that is the one thing I do have control over is myself. So I would say Let Them is the book by Mel Robbins that encapsulates really well what I have been seeing as kind of like a mantra that, you've got no control. Absolutely zero control. Anytime you think anything, my husband was saying that, oh, this is going on and that's going on, and like, we just don't seem to get a break. And I'm like, yeah. And that is life. Like, we think we've got things under control that we're managing. And if anyone we love gets sick, that gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
There is no control. You really have to roll with the punches. You've got to figure out where your strength is going to come from and keep tapping into it.
It's like there was a meme going around, speaking of social media and the good stuff that goes around, that when you are healthy, you have 1,000 problems. But when you're not healthy, you really only have one problem.
Oh my God, that is so profound and so absolutely true.
Right, putting that into focus as well. Yes.
Yeah.
So what does success mean to you at this stage of your life and career?
I think it means connection for me. It's not about the stuff. It's about feeling like I am part of something bigger, that I am, that if I'm in someone's life, it's for a purpose, a higher purpose of somehow doing something that's going to increase the net positive energy on the planet. To me, that's success. It can't be about the stuff. Like, honestly, you've got no control over the stuff, right? One tariff law from the States and everything goes to hell in a handbasket. If that's your idea of success, you're not going to ever have it.
Right. And it's not coming with you either,
No, it's not coming with you either. So it's got to be more than that. It's got to be an energy. It's got to be a mindset.
Yes, love that. So what's next for you on your bucket list? And you can choose a professional or personal, immediate, and maybe 10 years from now.
I think what's next on my bucket list is passing on the reins. Like, I have been the teacher for very long, even in this position I'm in now. Like, I mentor all the women who I work with. And I know that, even the team that we have in India, they look to me and they're like, okay, like, oh yeah, we can think that way. We can do things differently. And that has just been my role for a really long time, is being the one who shines a light. I would like to pass that on to somebody else and let somebody else do the light shining. And I'll just sit there on the back and go, you're doing such a great job. You go, girl. Because it's a heavy load to carry to be the light shiner.
Of course, of course. And then 10 years from now would be your village, right?
Yeah, 10
what
years
you
from
talk
now
about?
would definitely be the village.
Yeah.
Where
Beautiful.
I'm more in the now and like, working on little things with little people, and that incrementally, like, not little people, but like little things with ordinary people, and that incrementally creates something great. But I don't have to focus so much on the great thing. I just keep working on this very small thing that I build that turns in organically into something better.
Is part of a bigger picture. Yeah, yeah, that's cool. I like that. So, Priya, we have come to the rapid fire questions, the fun
Gosh.
ones. Okay.
Ready.
Oh my gosh, it was so funny. The other guest was like closing her eyes. It was like she was on a TV show. It was so cool. But really, this is just fun. Whatever comes to mind first. They're not crazy
Okay.
questions. Don't worry. One word to describe you as a leader.
Compassionate.
If your leadership style was a dance move, which one would it be? And if you don't know the name, you could just kind of show us or describe it.
My leadership style, it would be whatever a cheerleader move is. Like, there's a lot of bringing my energy into the game, so it's something like that.
Awesome.
Maybe from the disco era.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that little finger go up. Yes. Morning person or night owl?
Night owl for sure.
Coffee, tea, or something else?
Coffee. One.
Mountain?
It's one. Can't have more than one.
Yeah. Mountains or oceans?
Oceans.
Pizza, or pasta?
That's tough. That's a really tough. That's the hardest question you've asked me all day. Uh, Pizza. It's more reliably good.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. You're right.
Mhm.
They can overcook the pasta, get
Yeah.
get it
Undersalted.
wrong.
It could be anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
If you were a kitchen appliance, which one would you be and why?
A can opener.
Okay, I like that.
Why? I don't know. I'm a person who reveals things. Things that people, it seems to be my lot in life that I see things and I'm like, hey, look at that thing that we all see. And everyone's like, we didn't notice it until you said it. So I feel like I open a can of worms. I'm just like a can opener. I'm a can opener.
Nice. I like that. You're the first can opener. I love it.
Well, who else? What else? What has anybody else picked?
So a stove, because they're sort of this alchemist that they put things together. A lot of the ladies said blender because they blend all of the
Oh,
different experiences. I think, yeah, most of them were blenders, to be honest. So I like the can opener.
can
Very
opener.
unique. Very
Yeah.
unique. So what's your oddly specific superpower? Like always finding the right parking spot or picking the right traffic lane?
Oh, knowing what time it is.
Uh-huh.
Like
Nice.
I just know. As long as I've had one reference point during the day,
Yeah.
I can pretty much tell what time it is to about 10 minutes.
That's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
So I can do that outside when I'm on vacation because I remember where the sun is at what point
Yeah.
of the day. So I'm like, oh, yeah, it's around 1 o'clock. Because and then was like, how do you know? I'm like, because 12 o'clock, the sun was a little bit further
Yeah.
out.
I think it's from years of teaching because you know you have 74 minutes. And
Right.
so you get
Right.
really good at knowing what a 74-minute segment feels like.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's something I've adapted to.
I like that. So if you could instantly master one new skill just like that, Priya, what would it be?
Oh, it would be improving my short-term memory. Like just having recall. I don't have it. I am such a big picture person,
Mm-hmm.
and I need the short-term memory things right in front of me. So this
Hmm.
is after years of being a special ed teacher. I've recognized that that is actually a thing, that there are people who need to have the things right in front of them in order to take those elements and process them and turn them into a bigger thought. So I really wish that I had more capacity for short-term memory. I think they call it, there is a specific name for it, but it's the number of things you can hold in your head at once
Okay.
as details, not as concepts.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. So you can totally train that with apps nowadays, no? I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
sure. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. But
okay.
then I also really love that I have this ability because I'm so bad with tiny details. Everything I learn, I have to turn into a concept.
All right.
And so I end up coming up with a lot of bigger picture ideas than I think I would be able to if I paid so much attention to
Hmm.
the details. Because my brain needs to sort it into something. The something is the concept. And
Yeah,
then the details disappear.
right, right, right. I see. Yeah, amazing. Well, that's a nice little goal you can set yourself for sure.
Yeah.
So, Priya, if you could gift every woman listening to this podcast one thing, tangible or not, and think like Oprah, you get a car, you get a car, you
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
car, what would it be?
Confidence.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. That's all women, most women, that's all they need is confidence.
Yeah. Completely agree. And for me, in terms of my own journey, confidence comes, of course, with wisdom, of course, with
Yeah.
mistakes and lessons learned.
Yeah.
But the more clear I am about something and where I'm headed and what I want to do, and the more, I'm just so clear. There's that clarity, and that clarity for me, clarity brings confidence. So that's
Mhm.
kind of how I've been able to embrace the confidence for sure.
There was something I was going to mention to you before. I know we're in the middle of our rapid fire questions. You know what a therapist told me? And I would like to share this because I want to know if there are other women, if there's a comment section, answer this in the comment section. How old are you in your dreams? Because apparently that is an actual measure of how much you have done your inner child work. If you
Okay.
in your dreams are your current age, then
Yes.
your entire psyche knows that you are no longer a child.
Ah,
But if in your dreams you're still in your 20s, you're late for a class in university, I just thought that was really interesting. And, I'd love to find out more if people have noticed that. Because I still have those, I'm late for class at university. Except
Ah,
now I am my age and I'm like, you know what? You can get the notes off somebody. It's okay. You know what? You're stressing out for nothing. Go get a
yeah.
coffee. Like, and I do that in my dreams. So I'm kind of wondering, like,
Hmm.
is that an interesting concept?
That is so cool. So if I
Yeah.
were to think back, because I dream quite a lot. I just dreamt last night actually.
Yeah.
I am usually around the age that I'm at.
That you are. Yeah.
Interesting. Huh.
So,
Very interesting.
yes, and if your dreams still show you or put you in the position of, usually it's a teenager, then that's the inner child that needs healing. Crazy,
Mm.
okay?
That's amazing. Yes. So part of the breathwork experience that I do, there's a meditation component after the breathing. So because it opens yourself up.
Yeah.
And there's a component of it that we reconnect with a younger version of you.
Yeah.
So maybe as kind of a pre-setup, I can ask if you recall your dreams, what age are you at?
Yeah.
And maybe perhaps call in, reconnect with that person
With that
during the
one,
meditation.
yeah. Because that's the one that's calling for your attention, right?
Yes,
That age.
yes. Wow, that's
I
cool.
know.
That
I
is,
know that when somebody told me that, all of a sudden I'm like, that makes so much sense.
yes, I love.
Okay, back to the questions. I didn't mean to
Well, no,
interrupt.
actually, we're done.
That was
That was the
perfect.
last question. So I like how we wrap this up in a totally different way, but something to consider and something to think about. And yeah, just keep learning. I love this. And
Yeah, this
and,
is so
and this
great.
this is life. What we rightfully talked about this whole time is just understanding that we're gonna go through these challenges and happy times and just seeing it as it is and just really utilizing all our tools that we have available to
Yeah.
us to just navigate this beautiful, beautiful life that we've been blessed to participate in. So
Yeah.
I'm just so grateful. If there's anything else you want to wrap up with before I
No,
wrap
no, I
up.
really appreciate what you're doing. How, these podcasts are such an amazing idea for bringing women together and sharing ideas. Unfortunately, those social spaces that used to exist where people did this in person, they don't exist. And especially, there used to be, if you had young kids, everybody would be playing at the park and you'd be sitting on the bench with the other moms and we would talk, right? Well, once you're past that, where are you meeting to share these ideas?
Yes, so
Yeah.
true, so true. So yes, I love that you said yes to this podcast, to sharing your beautiful journey, sharing your beautiful energy, and I'm just so grateful that our paths have crossed. I loved you on
Thank you.
stage when I saw you at the event. I'm like, no, I need to speak to this woman. She's just so full of life and so inspiring. So thank you for the work that
Thank
you're
you.
doing,
Thank you
the
for
work that
having me.
you're continuing to do, and the beautiful plans you have for Sorry Not Sorry. And I'm just like, how to sign me up? How do I, be part of it? I just so want
Okay, you go to sariKNOTsari.com. And I think one of your questions was how to reach me
to.
directly.
Yes.
Honestly, the easiest way is if you go to our website, there's a tiny little chat bot in the bottom right-hand corner. That's me. That is literally a direct line to me.
Okay.
So if you ever want to chat about anything, just message me. I'd love to answer questions or, I really enjoyed being on your podcast. If anybody wants to talk, I'm available.
Yes, exactly. Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you so much. Have yourself a beautiful rest of the day.
Yeah,
Enjoy
you
this
too.
gorgeous day, and yeah, I can't wait to stay in touch and follow your beautiful journey.
Oh,
Take
thank you
care.
so much. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us on Uplift Her Leadership Series, a special segment of the Self Care Goddess podcast. If this conversation lit something up in you, please share it with a fellow change maker, and let's keep building a new model of leadership together. Follow me on ritasavoya.com and stay connected for more conversations that blend well-being, wisdom, and bold feminine leadership. Until next time, breathe mindfully, live intentionally, thrive gracefully, and remember, self-care is your superpower. Ciao for now.